Canadians are waking up to the reality that some of their members of parliament might be treasonous dogs, according to a new NSICOP report. Today, let's take a look at what this story is all about and how I think the Canadian Armed Forces is tightly intertwined into this whole unraveling fiasco. Stay tuned.
The day we stop believing democracy can work is the day we lose it.
Hey folks, I just want to interrupt this podcast for a hot minute to talk about skincare. Yeah, I know, not something that you might typically expect from a podcast like this, but skincare for me has been really important ever since I deployed to Afghanistan. Let me explain. You see, while I was deployed, I saw a lot of guys not taking care of their skin, and when they got home, they looked like a leather mitt. I didn't want anything to do with that, so I had a pretty serious skincare routine while I was deployed, but I've always struggled to find the right product since coming back. Well, that's where things have changed. I've recently started using Skin Mason as my everyday go-to skincare product. This is a two-step process and it's for guys. So you take the scrub, you scrub your face, and then you finish it off with the serum that's right here. This two-step system has already shown results and my skin feels a lot softer and looks a lot better from when I first started just a few days ago. Because you're a loyal listener of the podcast, I want to make sure that you're well looked after. If you go to skinmason.com and get your first order today, you're going to get a 10% discount by using the code H2KPOD. I hope you can find a product that works for you and that you can start looking a lot younger, a lot fresher, and a lot harder to kill in the near future. So that's skinmason.com and grab your skincare products today. All right, if this is your first time tuning in to my show, welcome. I'm Dave Morrow, and I am trying to help 100,000 veterans lose 2 million pounds. But today, the point of this content is not to help you lose weight. It's to help our democracy. So if this is your first time tuning in, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to smash the like button and turn on bell notification. I'd really appreciate the love. So let's dive right into it. What's going on? And is there something rotten in the state of Canada? So first things first, the NSICOP report. What is it? It's this beast of a document here, 92 pages long, and it's the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians Special Report on Foreign Interference in Canada's Democratic Processes and Institutions. You find this online. It's readily available. Granted, it's heavily redacted for obvious reasons. So in the news, we're seeing here that everybody's having a collective holy shit moment. In the CBC, Conservative leader calls on Liberal government to release names of MPs accused of helping foreign states. Well, yeah, obviously. NSICOP chair said committee's hands are tied on naming MPs accused of aiding foreign states. I don't know about that. Reading further, on Monday, the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, a cross-party committee of MPs and senators with top security clearances, released a heavily redacted document alleging some parliamentarians have actively helped foreign governments like China and India meddle in Canadian politics. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's not good. That's literal treason. But they're not releasing the names. So what does Chrystia Freeland have to say about this? I'm curious. Are you curious? All right, let's get into it.
Est le premier pays dans le G7 de réduire le taux d'intérêt. C'est une très très bonne nouvelle pour les Canadiens
Wait for it.
et Canadiennes.
Wait for it.
Pour le Canada. Notre plan fonctionne. Merci beaucoup.
Bye. They're literally running after her. What's going on? We don't care about interest rates. Interest rates aren't important. Is our democracy safe? Is the parliamentary democracy done?
It's known that democracy thrives in sunlight, and you've talked about the attacks on democracy. And it's already been talked about that Canadians have lost confidence in our electoral system and our institutions, in part because of this foreign interference debate. Are you not concerned that by not releasing the names of the MPs who are involved and accused of what this committee is accusing them of, that you are further undermining confidence in the system? And why are we affording them that protection?
So let me just start by saying I don't think Canadians have lost confidence.
Wrong. let's pull up the reason why. The reason why she's full of horse shit is that according to a federal poll from this year, federal poll suggests declining confidence in government and media. A Privy Council office poll suggests declining confidence in democratic institutions. According to that poll, 60 to 70% of Canadians said they no longer believe many of the country's public institutions are capable of making decisions that benefit the public. Those institutions include local, provincial, and national governments and financial institutions. Perhaps most significantly, they also include the only institution dedicated to reporting truth, Canada's legacy news media. Our newspapers, television, and radio stations are only trusted by 32.5% of Canadians, according to the poll. Holy guacamole. That's really bad, man. So, Chrystia Freeland, you're full of shit. Canadians don't trust anything in their government. They don't trust that we're actually doing the right things. I don't trust shit about my federal government. Nothing. There's 0 layers of government that I trust. Actually, no, that's not true. My city here, Dorval, shout out to Dorval. You're doing a great job. Actually, I really like what you're up to here. Everything else, dog shit. So when she says stuff like, oh no, trust has never been higher, lie. Straight up lie. They know it. And I'm curious to know, do you have any trust in the legacy media? Question number 2, do you have any trust in what I'm saying? Do you trust me more than legacy media, I guess is what I'm asking. If you do, drop it in the comments. If you don't, it's okay. I'm a podcaster. I won't take it personally, but I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. So moving right along, let's see what the Twitterverse has to say about all of this craziness here. So this is Theo Fleury, former Calgary Flame. Jennifer O'Connell has just become Canada's dumbest politician, and she's quoted as saying, boo-hoo, get over it, about this whole fiasco in the House of Commons, which is kind of insensitive considering it's the underpinning of our democracy and there might be treasonous dogs in there. I think a little bit more seriousness is required. Brian Lilly, an actual serious reporter, asking voters to cast ballots, but not telling them which MPs were working with foreign governments, pushing the interests of China, India, or Iran is not fair. Voters need to know. Anything else undermines our system. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that's literally it. So in Canada, what happens if you are a traitor? if you've committed high treason, and what is it? Well, high treason and treason. High treason is something that is typically committed against the king or the queen. So if you're trying to kill them, trying to abduct them, that's high treason. Regular treason, like vanilla treason, which is what we're talking about here. Well, actually, I don't even know. Maybe they did try to commit high treason. Who knows now? This is where you're trying to use force of violence against the government of Canada without lawful authority, communicates and makes available to an agent of a state other than Canada, military or scientific information, or any sketch, plan, model, article, note, or document of a military or scientific character that he knows or ought to know may be used by the state for that purpose, prejudicial to the safety or defense of Canada. So basically, if you're a politician and you're saying like, yeah, I'm doing, this kind of stuff, and this is what the next plan is, and that's treason. But also if you're working for another government and you're in government here, that's treason. So what does that constitute in terms of punishment here in Canada? Well, if you're caught being treasonous, you basically go to life. You go to life. You go to jail forever. You get a life sentence, which I'm not quite sure how long that is. If you know, drop it in the comments. I think it's 20 years, but I could be wrong on that. It essentially means whether it's high treason or treason light, like vanilla treason, regular treason, you go to jail for a very long time. No corporal punishment, but that did happen back in the past. So check this out. This is one of our treasonous dogs here, Kenau Inouye, from the Second World War era. He was a Canadian, fought for us in the First World War, popped over to the Japanese, our enemies, the Axis power during the Second World War, started torturing Canadians in Hong Kong. Oh, cool. Wow. So you're a Canadian torturing other Canadians for the enemy. Awesome. So we hung his ass. Done. Another famous treacherous dog was Louis Riel. Hung him too. Red River Rebellion. So we don't do it anymore, but we can see treason is kind of a serious deal, right? You're outing your tribe. So you got to go, man. The Romans used to call it Arbutus infelix, I think. They used to hang you from like a sad, depressing tree. I guess that was an insult. I add insult to injury, which is your death. And then you'd have your house razed and all your property taken, and your family would be exiled. Like they didn't fuck around back in the day, right? And here we just go to jail. So I'm going to tie this all back to the Canadian Armed Forces in a second, because what happened a few years back was there was a bunch of Chinese invited to Canada, Chinese military officers to come to Canada to just kind of hang out and like watch a military exercise. So that's the context. This was 4 years ago. I wasn't tracking this, but now it's starting to all kind of make sense. So let's tune into this clip and you tell me what you think about it, in the comments here.
Has a lot happened this week. As I've been saying on the show for years, the Chinese Communist Party has quietly been taking over the world, extending its tentacles everywhere, like a communist Cthulhu.
Communist Cthulhu.
Now, how the Chinese Communist Party took over the West is a big topic. But so much news came out about that this week that I had to make an extra episode about it.
4 years ago.
So here's a rundown.
For context.
Let me tell you, it's bad. Let's start with the fact that Canada had invited Chinese troops to participate in winter military training in Canada. At least it was going to, until the US found out about it and told old Panda Hugger to knock it off. These are documents from the Canadian government. They relay the US concern about knowledge transfer from Chinese troops observing Canadian training exercises.
Yeah.
This was back in 2018, but it's just coming out now. The documents were obtained by Rebel News under an Access to Information Act request. The beautiful thing is, the documents were supposed to be redacted, but instead of being blacked out, the words were merely grayed out and still legible.
Oopsies.
Not sure whether this was a human error or a government clerk quietly deciding that
100%
transparency is a good thing.
100% that was
Either way,
on purpose.
Christmas came
Guaranteed.
early. Canada has since tried to say they weren't going to train with the Chinese troops.
No.
They were just going to let Chinese officers watch their training.
Just watch our
Totally
TTPs.
different.
Not a big deal.
Now you might be thinking, why would they even think that was a good idea? Well, because China let Canadian troops watch their training drills.
Cool.
Now you'd think that after the whole China kidnapping 2 Canadian citizens thing, the Canadian government would wise up. But no. You see, the Canadian military actually canceled the training after the US expressed concern. But then, Canada's Foreign Affairs Department begged the military not to cancel the engagement with the People's Liberation Army.
All right. So you get the idea here. Clearly, there's something afoot to get the Chinese closely linked to us militarily, economically. What's going on? Like, it seems bizarre, right? They're clearly our enemies, but we trade with them. Yeah. Just like the Russians, clearly enemies, but there's still some trade before the war popped off. So what the hell's going on? Like, how do you put all this together? And why would the Canadians even consider this? And don't forget, this was General Vance when he was CDS. He organized this. So it's interesting. Why would you go ahead and start this process until the Americans go, hey, what the hell are you freaking doing? You can't do that. Stop it. Like your little brother, like you punch him in the face when he like starts acting like an idiot, right? Canada's that little brother that like gets out of line, and then the big brother's got to come and like sock him in the nose, be like, stop that. Don't do it again. Well, like all things, in my opinion, they're related to money. Dirty, dirty, dirty money. This goes way back, folks, and this is where I'm drawing the connections. It was actually Stephen Harper's government way back in 2014 that ratified a controversial Canada-China foreign investment deal. This was the path to get closer and closer to a free trade deal. Wow. So if you remember back 10 years ago, Harper was all up in China. He had the panda for whatever reason. Everyone's like, why you got the stupid panda here? Trudeau Well, as we all know, he looks up to the communist dictatorship and hugs pandas too. What the hell is going on? How is it possible that these two different parties are doing the same thing? It's because they're working towards the same objective. And what's that same objective? It's this here. It's consulting Canadians on possible China free trade agreement. And this isn't old news. This is literally this year. The 19th of January, 2014. They want to have a free trade deal with a communist dictatorship. That's the end goal. So yeah, of course, they're going to wrap up the Canadian Armed Forces in this. Why wouldn't you? You have a free trade deal. So does that mean free trade of electronics, parts for warfare? Who knows? Economically, it means everything goes over the border, free trade, no tariffs. That's what we have with the Americans in Mexico. That's NAFTA. Does it start to make sense now? At least this is starting to make sense to me. There had to be something on the table, and this is it. So if you're wondering why are these people being so treasonous, well, if you're a politician and you're letting the Chinese have their way with your government, don't you think it's going to be a lot better for you down the road when they sign a free trade agreement, when you can bring the plant that's going to make XYZ equipment with Chinese help in your riding so that you can bring all kinds of jobs over? And that you can show your people in your riding that, hey, look at all the jobs I'm bringing. Look at all the economic prosperity I'm bringing. Yeah, but you made a deal with the devil and you're a treasonous piece of shit. Okay, so that's my rant for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to end this with some wisdom from Star Wars yet again. It's like being able to see into the future, listening to the old Star Wars episodes 1 through 6. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, make sure to hit subscribe, smash the like button, and make sure to turn on bell notifications. It helps us out tremendously, and I'll love you to death. So thanks again. Train hard, fight easy. See you on the next one. Peace.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.